The rain had stopped just an hour before, but the streets of Los Angeles were still glistening under the dim streetlights. Keanu Reeves walked quietly along the sidewalk, his hood pulled low, his steps slow and thoughtful. People passed by him, some recognizing the figure, but most too distracted with their own lives to notice. He liked it that way. In the silence of the city after the rain, he felt something rare: peace. He had just come from a film set where cameras, flashes, and endless voices had surrounded him. They wanted the actor, the star, the icon. But once the makeup was gone, once the lights were off, all Keanu wanted was to feel like a simple human being. Tonight, he wanted to be unseen. As he turned into a quieter street, he noticed an old man sitting near a bench. The man's clothes were torn, his shoes broken, his eyes tired. Keanu stopped walking. He could have kept going like everyone else, but something inside him pulled him closer. He remembered nights of loneliness from his own past. He remembered hunger, pain, and the feeling that nobody cared. Keanu walked over slowly and lowered his hood. The man looked up, startled. "Do you need something warm?" Keanu asked, his voice gentle. The man blinked, unsure. He had been ignored so many times that kindness felt almost unreal. "Just a little food," he whispered. Without hesitation, Keanu sat beside him. It was a strange sight. One of the most famous men in the world sitting on a cold bench next to someone who had nothing. But for Keanu, it was not strange at all. He had always believed that respect did not depend on status. It was something every human deserved. Minutes passed before Keanu got up and walked into a small shop across the street. He returned with hot coffee, bread, and a blanket. He placed the food gently in the man's hands and wrapped the blanket around his shoulders. The man's eyes filled with tears. Why would you do this for me?" he asked. Keanu sat back down. "Because I know how it feels when the world forgets you," he said softly. His words carried weight. They carried memories of his own struggles, the losses he had faced, the loved ones he had buried, the emptiness he had fought through in silence. He did not share these details, but they shaped the way he looked at others. As they ate together, a few people stopped and stared. Some pulled out their phones to take pictures, whispering in shock. Yet Keanu did not look away. He ignored the attention and focused only on the man beside him. What nobody knew was that across the street, Ana de Armas had just stepped out of a car. She had finished her own day of filming and was heading home when she noticed the small scene. At first, she could not believe it. Keanu, the man who had always shown humility on screen and off, was sitting quietly with someone forgotten by the world. She stayed still, hidden in the crowd, her heart heavy. She had seen kindness before, but this was different. This was not a gesture for cameras, not a moment of fame. It was raw, human, and full of respect. Ana felt something move inside her. Her eyes watered as she realized the depth of what she was witnessing. She had worked with Keanu. She had admired his calm presence, but in this moment she saw something even greater, the kind of humanity that fame could never touch. The old man began to speak again, his voice trembling. "You don't know me, but tonight you made me feel like I matter. No one has done that for me in years." Keanu placed a hand on his shoulder. "You do matter," he said. "Don't forget that." Anna's tears finally slipped down her face. She quickly wiped them, afraid someone might notice. But inside, she knew this moment would stay with her forever. She thought of the many times she had seen people chase recognition, attention, or glory. And yet here was a man who chose humility over all of it. As Keanu stood up to leave, he gave the man one last smile. "Take care of yourself. I'll see you again." The man nodded, clutching the blanket as if it were the most precious gift in the world. Keanu walked away quietly, his figure blending back into the city night. Anna could not move. She was still standing across the street, her heart caught between admiration and awe. This was only the beginning of a story that would soon reach further than either of them expected. The next morning, the city looked different. The streets were loud again, the traffic endless, and the air heavy with routine. But for the old man who had sat on that cold bench the night before, the world no longer felt quite so empty. He still held the blanket tightly, as though it was not just cloth, but proof that someone had seen him. Someone had cared. Keanu, meanwhile, was back on set. The director shouted instructions, assistants rushed around, and the cameras rolled. Everyone expected the professional, the star who would deliver his lines perfectly. And Keanu did. He gave his performance with calm focus, his face showing every emotion the script demanded. But inside, his mind kept drifting back to that man on the bench. During a break, he sat in a quiet corner with a cup of coffee. Anna walked in a few minutes later. She had seen him countless times before, but after last night she could not look at him in the same way. Her eyes searched his face, wondering if he knew that she had witnessed the moment that had moved her so deeply. She finally spoke. "Keanu, I saw you last night." His head turned, surprise flickering across his face. "You saw me?" "You didn't notice," she said gently, "but I was across the street." "I saw you sit with him. I saw what you did." For a long moment, Keanu was silent. His hands curled around his cup, his eyes dropping to the table. He did not like attention for these things. To him, kindness was private, never something to be displayed. "It wasn't much," he finally said. "Just food, just a blanket. Anyone could have done it." Anna shook her head slowly, her voice trembling. "No, Keanu. People walk past every day. They see, but they don't stop. You stopped. You gave him dignity when no one else would." That's not small." His gaze lifted, and for the first time she saw something raw in his eyes. A heaviness, almost like guilt, mixed with compassion. "I know what it feels like to lose everything," he whispered. "Sometimes one small act can keep you going for another day. I just wanted to give him that." Anna's heart tightened. She wanted to reach out, to tell him that his humility was exactly what made him extraordinary. But she stayed quiet, sensing he would not want praise. Later that day, news began to spread. Someone who had been in the crowd the night before had uploaded a blurry photo online. It showed Keanu, hood lowered, handing a blanket to the old man. The picture was not clear, but the internet recognized him instantly. Within hours, the image was everywhere. Headlines appeared, posts multiplied, and comments poured in. "Keanu Reeves helps homeless man after filming." The internet's favorite actor proves once again he's the kindest man alive. But while the world celebrated the story, Keanu did not. When his assistant showed him the article, he simply shook his head. "This wasn't meant to be public," he said softly. "It was just between me and him." The assistant tried to explain that people were inspired, that the world needed to see kindness in action, but Keanu remained quiet. He feared that the man he had helped would feel exposed, reduced to a headline instead of a human being. Anna found him later that evening, sitting alone near the back of the studio lot. "The photo is everywhere," she said carefully. "I know," he replied, "and I wish it wasn't. But Keanu, maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe people need to be reminded that kindness is real. You didn't ask for attention, but maybe the attention can help others see the forgotten people around them." He studied her face, searching for truth in her words. Slowly, his shoulders relaxed. "Maybe," he admitted, though doubt still lingered in his eyes. Meanwhile, across the city, the old man had no idea he had become part of a global story. He simply knew that someone had treated him with respect. He sat on the same bench, wrapped in his blanket, holding a small paper cup someone else had offered him that morning. When strangers walked by, a few dropped coins into his hand. Some even gave him food. He did not understand why suddenly people were noticing him, but deep down he felt something had shifted. Back on set, Keanu and Anna prepared for another scene together. As the camera rolled, their dialogue was scripted, but the emotions behind their eyes were not. Anna could not forget the tears she had held back the night before. Keanu could not forget the man's trembling words, "You made me feel like I matter." What neither of them realized was that this moment, this small act, was only the start of something much larger. The story had left the bench, the street, and the city. It was traveling across countries, touching people they would never meet. And for both Keanu and Anna, it was about to test their understanding of what humility, kindness, and resilience truly meant. The story had grown far beyond what Keanu imagined. In every corner of the world, people were sharing the picture of him and the old man on the bench. News anchors discussed it, social media praised it, and strangers in cafes whispered about it as if it were proof that goodness still existed in a broken world. But Keanu felt uneasy. He had not done it to be seen. He had not wanted the man's suffering to become a story for the public. Every time he saw a headline calling him a hero, he remembered the old man's tired eyes and trembling hands. To him, the real story was not about himself, but about a person the world had ignored for far too long. Still, there was no stopping the wave. One evening, as Keanu left the set, a crowd had gathered outside. People held signs saying, "Thank you, Keanu." Some even cried as they reached for his hand. He smiled softly, gave polite nods, but inside he felt a strange heaviness. Anna walked beside him, noticing the way he avoided the cameras flashing in his face. Later, when they were alone, she spoke carefully. "You don't like this, do you?" He shook his head slowly. "It feels wrong. Everyone is talking about me, but no one is asking about him. Who he is, how he ended up on that bench. They only care because I was there." Anna thought about his words for a long time. She had admired his humility before, but now she realized it went deeper than she understood. He truly believed fame meant nothing if it did not protect those without it. "Then maybe," she said finally, "we should find him again." Keanu looked at her, surprised. "You mean, go back?" "Yes," Anna replied firmly. "Go back, sit with him again. Not for cameras, not for the world, just for him. Maybe he needs more than one night of kindness." Her suggestion struck Keanu like a spark in the dark. Without hesitation, he agreed. 2 nights later, they went together. They dressed simply, no makeup, no designer coats, just 2 people walking the same quiet street. When they reached the bench, the old man was still there, blanket wrapped tightly around his shoulders. His face lit up when he saw Keanu. "You came back," he whispered, almost in disbelief. Keanu knelt beside him, a warm smile on his face. "I told you I would." Anna sat down too, her heart racing. She had prepared herself for this moment, but seeing the man so fragile made her chest tighten. She introduced herself softly, and to her surprise, the man laughed weakly. "I know who you are," he said, his voice rough but kind. "You're both stars. I used to go to the movies when I still had a home. I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to you." His words cut deeply into Anna. The way he said "when I still had a home" carried a weight of years, of memories stolen by hardship. Keanu leaned closer. "What's your name?" "Daniel," the man replied after a pause. "My name is Daniel." From that moment, he was no longer just the old man on the bench. He was Daniel, a human being with a story worth hearing. As they spoke, Daniel shared pieces of his past. He had once been a carpenter, building tables and chairs with his hands. He had a wife once, and a daughter too. But life had taken sharp turns: illness, loss, bills he could not pay. One day, everything he had built crumbled, and the streets became his only shelter. Anna listened with tears threatening her eyes. Keanu, too, felt his throat tighten. Daniel's story was not rare, yet it was told with such quiet dignity that it shattered the silence between them. "I don't need pity," Daniel said, his voice firm. "I've learned to survive. But last week, before you came, I thought maybe it was time to stop. I was so tired. Then you sat down with me. You reminded me I wasn't invisible. You gave me one more reason to stay alive." The words hit both of them with the force of truth. Anna turned her face away, wiping her eyes quickly. Keanu stayed still, his expression unreadable, but inside he felt something deep, something that made his chest ache. "Daniel," he said softly, "you're not invisible. You matter. Your story matters. And if you let us, we'll sit with you again and again until you believe it yourself." The old man's eyes shone in the dim light. He nodded slowly, his voice breaking. "Thank you. No one has spoken to me like that in years." As they left that night, Anna walked silently beside Keanu. Finally, she whispered, "He was ready to give up, and you saved him. Do you understand what that means?" Keanu shook his head. "No. He saved me too. He reminded me what really matters." But neither of them knew that their quiet meeting with Daniel would soon draw more attention. Someone had seen them together again, and another picture was already making its way online. This time, the story was not just about a famous actor giving food. It was about a man named Daniel, whose dignity was being restored. The second photo spread faster than the first. It showed Keanu and Anna sitting with Daniel, listening intently as he spoke. Unlike the earlier blurry picture, this one carried more weight. It wasn't just an actor handing food to a stranger. It was two people giving their time, their attention, and their respect. The internet exploded again. Headlines multiplied. "Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas befriend homeless man." His name is Daniel. Hollywood stars remind us every life has a story. But for Daniel, the noise of the world did not reach him directly. He did not have a phone, nor did he spend time in places where newspapers were spread across tables. What he felt was simpler. Strangers began to treat him differently. A woman stopped to ask his name instead of just tossing a coin. A man left him a hot meal and said, "You matter." Children smiled when they passed him. Daniel did not know about the headlines, but he felt the change in the way people looked at him. For the first time in years, he felt seen. Meanwhile, Keanu struggled with the attention. After a long day of filming, he sat alone in his apartment, scrolling through messages from friends, from journalists, even from organizations asking for his support. They wanted him to use the moment to raise awareness, to start a campaign, to make speeches. But Keanu hesitated. He did not want Daniel's life to become a spectacle. He feared the world might use Daniel as a symbol, but forget the man himself. The next day, Anna came to visit him. She could see the conflict written across his face. "You're afraid they'll turn his pain into a story they consume for a week and then forget," she said quietly. He nodded. "That's what the world does. They love stories, but they don't stay. I don't want Daniel to feel like he was just a headline." Anna sat beside him, her voice steady. "Then we don't let that happen. We keep showing up. We keep reminding people he's a person, not a story. And maybe we help him find a way back." Her words planted a seed in Keanu's mind. That evening they returned to the bench. Daniel was there, as always, wrapped in the blanket Keanu had given him. His face brightened as they approached. "You really keep coming back," he said with a small laugh. "We promised," Keanu replied. This time, they didn't bring just food. They brought conversation. Anna asked about Daniel's craft, the furniture he used to build. His face lit up as he described the way wood felt under his hands, how each piece carried its own story. Keanu listened with respect, asking questions about the tools he once used, the homes that still carried his work. For a while, the street noise faded, and Daniel's voice carried them into a world where he was not forgotten, where his skills still mattered. But the night was cut short when a group of strangers approached. They had seen the photos online and recognized the trio. Some were kind, offering greetings, but others were not. One man pulled out his phone, aiming it directly at Daniel. "Hey, smile for the camera," the man said. Daniel's shoulders tensed. His eyes dropped, his voice silent. Keanu stood quickly, stepping between them. His voice was calm but firm. "Please don't. He's not here for your entertainment. Respect his dignity." The man lowered his phone reluctantly, muttering as he walked away. But the damage was done. Daniel's eyes carried shame again, the shame of being displayed like an exhibit. Anna placed her hand on his arm gently. "Daniel, you don't have to let them take your story. You deserve respect, not pity." He nodded slowly, but the hurt was clear. After they left, Keanu was quiet. He walked with his hands in his pockets, his eyes heavy with thought. Finally, he said, "We can't let this continue. If people are going to notice him now, we need to make sure it's for the right reasons. Not because of me, not because of fame, but because he deserves a chance to live with dignity again." Anna looked at him, her eyes steady. "Then let's help him rebuild." Keanu stopped walking, the weight of her words sinking in. Rebuild. Not charity, not pity, but a real chance to stand again. And in that moment, he knew their journey with Daniel was no longer just about small acts of kindness. It was about transformation. But neither of them realized the resistance they were about to face. Not everyone would welcome the idea of two stars stepping into a forgotten man's life. Jealousy, suspicion, and doubt were waiting around the corner. The plan to help Daniel started simple. Keanu and Anna met him again the following evening, sitting on the same bench where their story began. They spoke to him gently, choosing their words with care. "Daniel," Anna said softly, "we want to help you get back on your feet. Not just with food or blankets. Something more lasting." Daniel's eyes narrowed slightly. Years on the streets had taught him to be cautious. Promises often led to disappointment. "People say that sometimes," he whispered, "but they walk away when it gets hard." Keanu leaned forward, his voice steady and sincere. "We won't walk away. We want to help you find a place to stay, maybe even work again, if you're ready. Not because you owe us anything, because you deserve it." Daniel studied their faces. In their eyes, he saw no pity, only respect. Slowly, he nodded. "I'll trust you, but I don't want to be anyone's project. I just want to live like a man again." "You will," Keanu promised. The next few days became a whirlwind. Keanu quietly reached out to a shelter that offered transitional housing, while Anna spoke with local organizations that helped people rebuild their lives. They kept everything private, avoiding the press, determined to protect Daniel's dignity. But secrets are hard to keep in a world obsessed with fame. Rumors began to spread online that Keanu and Anna were adopting a homeless man. Tabloids twisted the story, painting it as a publicity stunt. Headlines screamed, "Hollywood stars play savior to street man." Is this genuine kindness or another celebrity act? Keanu ignored the noise, but Anna felt the sting. One night, scrolling through her phone, she saw comments filled with both praise and hate. Some called them angels. Others mocked Daniel, reducing his life to cruel jokes. Her hands shook as she read. "Why do they have to do this?" she whispered, tears rising. "Why can't they just let it be about kindness?" Keanu placed a hand on her shoulder. "Because the world doesn't understand simplicity. They think there must always be an angle, a motive. But we know the truth, and so does Daniel. That's all that matters." Meanwhile, Daniel faced his own struggle. Though he now had a small room at the shelter, the adjustment was difficult. 4 walls felt strange after years of open streets. At night, he woke up in fear, thinking someone might take it away. One evening, he sat with Keanu and Anna in the small community room. "I don't know if I can do this," he confessed. "Part of me feels like I don't belong anywhere anymore." Keanu looked him in the eyes, his voice calm. "You belong everywhere a human heart beats, Daniel. You have value. Rebuilding takes time, but you're not alone." Anna added gently, "Don't think of it as starting over. Think of it as continuing. Every day you survived out there was strength. Now you can use that strength to build something new." Daniel nodded slowly, though doubt still lingered. The following week, something unexpected happened. A local carpenter heard about Daniel's story. He reached out quietly, offering him a chance to help in his workshop. The man had seen the way Daniel spoke about his craft in the video that had spread online, and he believed Daniel still had the skills. When Keanu and Anna told Daniel about the opportunity, his eyes filled with disbelief. "They want me? After all these years?" "Yes," Anna said with a smile. "They see what we see." The first day at the workshop was both terrifying and healing for Daniel. The smell of wood, the sound of tools, the feel of rough surfaces under his hands, it was like touching a memory. His fingers trembled at first, but slowly the rhythm returned. He carved, he sanded, he shaped. And when he finished his first small table, he stood back and let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Keanu and Anna visited that evening. Daniel showed them the table, his face glowing with pride. "I thought I lost this part of me," he said, "but it's still here." Anna's eyes shimmered. Keanu smiled, his quiet pride showing. "See, Daniel? You were never broken. You were just waiting for someone to remind you." But even as Daniel's life began to shift, the outside world was restless. Some journalists tried to sneak into the shelter for interviews. Paparazzi followed Keanu and Anna, demanding answers. Questions swirled. Why him? Why now? What did they gain? Whispers of controversy grew louder. Some accused them of using Daniel for attention. Others said it was unfair that one man was being lifted up while so many others remained on the streets. And slowly, the pressure began to creep into their world. Daniel, hearing fragments of the noise, felt guilt clawing at him. One night, he sat on his bed, his hands shaking. When Keanu and Anna arrived, he confessed, "Maybe I shouldn't accept this. Maybe people are right. Why me? Why should I get this chance when so many others won't?" Keanu knelt in front of him, his voice calm but strong. "Daniel, the world will always question kindness, but you don't owe anyone an explanation for living. This isn't about fairness, it's about humanity. You matter, and if people don't understand that, let them shout into the void. We'll keep walking forward." Anna added softly, her hand on his arm. "You're not a story for them to argue about. You're a man finding his way back. Don't let their voices drown out your own." Daniel's eyes welled with tears. For the first time in years, he let himself cry openly, not from despair, but from the fragile hope blooming inside him. The storm of criticism grew louder with every passing day. Journalists called, paparazzi lurked outside the shelter, and online voices fought over Daniel's life as if it belonged to them. Some praised Keanu and Anna, while others accused them of playing heroes. And through it all, Daniel felt the weight pressing down on him. One night, he sat in the workshop long after everyone had left. The scent of wood filled the air, the soft glow of a single bulb hanging above him. He ran his fingers along the grain of the table he was building, but his thoughts were heavy. When Keanu and Anna arrived to check on him, they found him sitting alone, his head in his hands. "What's wrong, Daniel?" Anna asked softly. He lifted his eyes, red and tired. "I don't think I can carry this. The world is watching me like I'm a symbol, not a man. I didn't ask for this story. I just wanted to survive. I don't want to disappoint you both. But maybe I should disappear again." Keanu moved closer, kneeling beside him, his voice quiet but firm. "Daniel, listen to me. You don't need to carry the world. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You are not a symbol. You are a person. And that's enough." Anna's voice trembled as she added, "If you disappear, the world loses more than a story. It loses you. And you've already shown us that one man's dignity can awaken something in others that matters more than the noise." Daniel's tears spilled, and for the first time, he let himself be held. Keanu placed a steady arm around his shoulders, while Anna held his hand. Together they stayed in that quiet workshop, their silence louder than any crowd outside. Over the next few weeks, things began to change. Keanu decided to speak publicly, not about himself, but about Daniel and people like him. At a press event, when a reporter asked about the viral photo, Keanu said simply, "This isn't my story, it's Daniel's, and it's the story of countless others who deserve respect, not just attention. If you want to do something, don't praise me. Look around you. See the people near you. Listen to them. Treat them with kindness." His words spread quickly, but this time the focus shifted. People began to ask about shelters, workshops, and community efforts. Donations poured in, not to Keanu or Anna, but to organizations helping the homeless. The spotlight that once threatened to crush Daniel now began to light paths for many others. And Daniel, slowly, began to heal. He worked more in the carpentry shop, his hands finding their rhythm again. His tables sold in local markets, each one carrying not just craftsmanship, but the story of survival and dignity. One day, he stood outside the shop, sunlight warming his face. Anna approached him with a smile. "You look different," she said. "How so?" he asked. "You look lighter," she replied. Daniel smiled, a real deep smile that reached his eyes. "Maybe because, for the first time in years, I feel like I belong again." Keanu joined them, his quiet presence steady as always. He looked at Daniel, then at Anna, and said, "This wasn't about saving anyone. It was about walking together until we remembered that we all matter." The three of them stood there, not as star, actress, and forgotten man, but as friends, bound by something stronger than fame or headlines, bound by respect, resilience, and kindness. As weeks turned into months, Daniel's life continued to grow. He had a small apartment now, filled with the scent of wood and the warmth of new beginnings. He visited the bench sometimes, not out of need, but as a reminder of the night when a simple act of kindness had changed everything. Anna, watching him one evening, whispered to Keanu, "This all started because you chose humility over fame." Keanu shook his head gently. "No. It started because Daniel chose hope, even when it hurt. All I did was sit down. Sit." Anna's eyes glistened. Her heart moved once again by his humility. She knew she would never forget this journey, the tears, the struggles, the courage. And Daniel, sitting nearby, looked at them both with gratitude. "You gave me back my life," he said softly. "No, Daniel," Keanu replied. "You took it back yourself. We just reminded you that you could." The night fell softly over the city, lights flickering in the distance, and for the first time in a long time, peace wrapped around them all.